Hey, welcome to Janktown. Will here, bringing you guys another deck tech primer, this time on Vihaan Goldwaker. Vihaan's one of the scarier and more versatile commanders that we've seen in a while. Actually, originally I was really planning to build around the new Olivia Opulent Outlaw, but you guys definitely let yourselves be heard. And if you voted in the poll, thank you so much for the feedback, really appreciate that. Anyway, this analysis is going to be a bit of a juicy one, so I hope you can stick with me until the very end. Vihaan is versatile, but no matter how we build it, the focus of our deck is always going to be on treasures. Now, treasures used to be this like cute little mechanic in the OG Ixalan, and that, is a crowd favorite, and now it has quickly become one of the most powerful archetypes in the format. So unless we're going to be playing with like totally new players to the game, we're not about to take anybody by surprise, right? His abilities read scary, the way we'll set him up is scary, and so we need to expect that Vihaan will carry with him a high heat index. And what does this mean? Well, expect the removal, expect to get disrupted, and if opponents can't really deal with artifacts all that well, then just expect to get focused down. Another thing to keep in mind too is that his ability only triggers during our turn. So if we were gonna rely on like a treasure army to keep us safe, just remember that those guys can't block. It's not all downside though. Most board wipes that people run are at sorcery speed, so we save ourselves from that. But why is he so scary? Well, let's break down his ability. Essentially, he turns treasures into creatures with vigilance and haste. So, seems straightforward enough, and we've probably gone up against worse than like a bunch of 3/3s. So why is that scary? Let's deconstruct that sentence. First off, our deck is designed to produce a lot of treasures. Treasures produce a lot of mana when you tap and sacrifice them, and access to mana is one of the more powerful positions to have in Magic. Now, the other reason and why treasure decks are generally strong is because they're also artifacts, and there are a lot of artifact synergies out there that can be game-ending. And so a treasure deck by itself is already pretty threatening. But then Vihaan turns those treasures into creatures. Now, going wide with creatures isn't a new concept. They go smacky smacky, and yeah, maybe we can win that way. However, Mardu is also known for aristocrats, or sacrificing creatures for value. So while normally you'd need like a creature, a sack outlet, and a payoff, the fact that these creatures are treasures means they already have a sack outlet mechanic built in, which, by the way, also produces mana for more shenanigans. Honestly, it reminds me of having like a Phyrexian Altar, which, by the way, is crazy expensive, and for good reason, is all kinds of broken. Now, the downside of creatures that artifacts don't have is that you can't activate tap abilities the turn they come in, and treasures need to be tapped and sacrificed to produce mana. But forget that, Vihaan also gives them vigilance and haste, so you can create a bunch of treasures during your turn, immediately swing with them, and you don't even need to weigh the opportunity cost of like, do I attack? Do I need mana? Nah, you just swing. And then after combat, you still have access to all the mana from all your treasures to close things out. So these 7 different themes of our deck will comprise of our usuals of ramp, removal, and draw, but then I'll get into the card choices of treasures, and then instead of specific themes, I will be showing you guys like packages of cards that we can mix and match depending on what playstyle really resonates with us. Finally, we'll end the video with something we like to call UBP, or Utilities, Bombs, and Pets. One more thing, I know cards like Smothering Tithe, Dockside Extortionist, these cards are like auto-include in any treasure deck. However, I do try to stay away from the pricier staples, maybe cards that are like $20-ish and above, so they will not be in our deck list today. For ramp, it's gonna be a light list because we have a section dedicated to just treasures. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Bauble, yep. Let's move on. I do like land ramp though because it's less likely to get blown up. So Solemn Simulacrum, Weathered Wayfarer, just ways to make sure that we hit our land drops. Crime Novelist, like a mana doubler for treasures, and Glittering Stockpile is a 3-drop mana rock that is a treasure, but it also stores up value over the course of a game. And finally, Curse of Opulence. So it makes gold, not treasures, but it's got a really strong effect, and plus it's only a 1-drop. We need time to set up, and removal keeps us from dying. Creature wipes we're bringing are Blasphemous Act, just an efficient wipe, Slaughter the Strong, which Vihaan can get under, and something we probably want to cast in our first main phase, and Grave Pact, which can be an absolute nightmare for our opponents if the treasures we're sacrificing for mana have also become creatures. Now, outside of creature wipes, Farewell lets us take care of most of other non-land permanents except Planeswalkers, but nobody really brings those to Commander. Austere Command, just a modular wipe. And I'm bringing Cleansing Meditation because I think in general, enchantments are gonna be what will wreck us. I'm not really relying on us to hit Threshold, but it is a nice little upside. Lastly, some treasure producing removal in Blood Money, Spiteful Banditry, and Bottle Cap Blast. The Blast is the only targeted removal spell we're running, but otherwise, yes, we are bringing quite a lot of wipes. And with all that mana, draw ensures we can keep our game plan going. Seize the Spoils and Pirate's Pillage, just minor card draw sorceries that help us create treasures. Deadly Dispute, Big Score, Unexpected Windfall, these are just the same things but at instant speed. Now these are all one-shot effects, but Braids lets us cash in a permanent at our end step to potentially draw 3 for a turn. And while we aren't a sacrifice deck, Skull Clamping a treasure creature and then sacrificing it for mana as well as drawing 2, pretty insane. Rain of Riches, kinda like draw except we cascade into something of lower mana value. And finally there's Treasure Map. It makes treasures when it pops, but it lets us scry on upkeep for card selection, or later on we can cash in a treasure for a card draw. Alright, we need treasures to get our game plan going, and there are a lot of ways to do so. Marching Duodrone, Magda, Zentrim, Bandit, and Kellogg, they all make treasures as attack triggers, letting us essentially create 1 per turn cycle, while a pair of new cards are Generous Plunderer that makes a treasure in our upkeep, and Treasure Dredger, which can make us a treasure as an activated ability. Now the Plunderer can eventually become a threat, but like that's just really a random side bonus. We really want that upkeep trigger. Professional Facebreaker and Grim Hireling are combat damage based treasure makers, and these can produce multiple treasures on our turn. So I don't really know how reliably we can get in since we're not really focused in on evasion, but they are pretty decent when they do work. Now these 2 cards are generally setup cards because by the time you get the treasures, combat's already over. So if ever you're gonna go for a big turn, you are just gonna have to wait for the next time. Now taking advantage of Vihaan's ability, these next 4 cards can go really crazy with him around. Luxurious Locomotive's a vehicle with an attack trigger and it can create a bunch of treasures. So if we're not using the mana, we can tap the treasure creatures to essentially crew it, and that'll double up pretty much our treasure count. Prosperous Partnership, just a means to produce treasures if we tap the treasure creatures, and we get a return rate of about 3:1. Jan Jansen can tap to make 2 treasures from 1 treasure, and Pitiless Plunder is just it's always insane. Now, it's not an infinite with him and Vihaan since the new treasures you create aren't going to be creatures. Remember, Vihaan's ability only triggers at the start of combat, so it's a triggered ability, not like a static effect, but it does let you use them as free mana because the Plunder will replenish them when they get sacrificed. Lothlo and Monologue Tax gives us a steady diet of treasures even on other players' turns, and for burst treasure creation, we're running Brass's Bounty, Spiteful Repossession, and Vault 21. Now that we got treasures, I'll be showing you guys 3 packages that you can mix and match based on your preferred playstyle. So I'll start with something I call the Artifact Package, and this takes advantage of the fact that we'll be creating and using a lot of treasures. Reckless Fireweaver and Ingenious Artillerist kills our opponents when treasures are made. Marionette Master, Agent of the Iron Throne, and Disciple of the Vault kills them when we use them. And Gear Up or Either Good and Revel in Riches gives us utility or just lets us outright win the game if we keep a bunch of treasures around. The next package is the Aristocrat Package, and this leverages Vihaan's ability that we're sacrificing the treasures as creatures. So Blood Artist, Teleport Cutthroat, Bastion of Remembrance, Elas Ilkor, Cruel Celebrant, and Falconwrath Noble, they all drain and gain when creatures die. Sir Conrad, just a powerful finisher in many sacrifice decks. And finally, Mayhem Devil, Nadir's Nightblade, and Mirkwood Bats. And while they don't care about creatures per se, they could have been part of the artifact package, they follow the same win pattern of sacking things to close out games. Last package is the Aggro Package, and this follows a more combat-oriented approach to having our treasures as creatures. Illustrious Wanderglyph, Nayali, Shared Animosity, Coat of Arms, and Artificer's Dragon can all buff our Construct Assassin army, making them all into like serious threats, while Cranial Plating makes one unblocked attacker dangerous with the benefit of equipping it instant speed after blocks are declared. Meanwhile, Taunt from the Rampart, Master Warcraft, Eroa's God of Victory, and Cyberman Patrol all mess up blocker math in some way, giving us some much needed evasion to close things out. I recommend here mixing and matching these cards based off of, your collection or your preferred play pattern. There's no wrong answer here, but I would recommend to still choose a central theme, bring in about 8 to 9 to form the core of your game plan, and then pick about 5 to 6 from the other themes as like backup plans. Now, if you're curious about what I picked, then I'll be showing it on the screen right now. It's mainly from the Artifact Package, sprinkled in with some of the Aggro Package. Last theme now, which means it's UBP time. A treasure staple is Zorn, and this gives us an additional treasure, and this quickly adds up. Ghostly Prison protects our face while we're setting up, because again, these treasure creatures can't block. And Crackle with Power gives us a game-ending mana sink. Now we do want to protect Vihaan, so Boros Charm gives our board indestructible, while Robe of Stars lets him phase out, essentially dodging any wrath or removal or anything like that. However, other ways to make sure Vihaan sticks around until combat are Silence and Grand Abolisher, both of which ensure that our turn is going to be interaction free from our opponents, and we're pretty much free to do whatever degenerate thing we want to do with Vihaan Goldwaker. That's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed that video, and if you found it useful, I hope you could leave a like, share, and subscribe. Really helps the channel out. Thank you to everybody who voted in the community poll on the YouTube channel. It's always great to hear what you guys want to see. I will be taking a short break towards the end of the month. I don't know if I'll have one more video left in me until I gotta fly out. I really gotta focus on my upcoming wedding this April. I hope you guys understand that. But just in case this is my last video for the foreseeable, stay inspired, friends, and I'll definitely see you soon.